Next up on the Road of Life podcast with John Miller, we have a good friend from Ukraine, David Lychko. David, how are you today?
I'm very well. I'm very excited.
Excellent. So where in Ukraine were you born and what year were you born?
So I was born in a town, well, it's a city named Poltava. And I grew up there for 2 years. And then me and my family moved to a village called Takhtaulove. I hope I spelled it right. Yeah, and I was born in 2008, so I'm 18 years old. And and the Lord's brought me through a lot and in 18 years. And I get a lot of, I get told a lot that I look and I act a lot, older beyond my age. And that's just all Jesus, and right now I grew up in a big family. Right now we have eight kids in my family, and I'm the oldest. I have one sister, and the rest are brothers. But the town I grew up in, it's not too big of a town. And actually, most of my life I grew up in the village, went to school in the village. So I'm kind of used to being in close community, and I actually prefer it that way. Right now we live in town, and I wish we kind of lived out in the country.
Mm-hmm. Does your siblings and your mom and dad still in Ukraine?
No. Well, me, my mom, and dad. And all of them, my siblings are here. Now my aunt and four of my cousins are still there, and my uncle, and then my grandma and my grandpa from mom's side, and my grandma from dad's side. They're all still there. There's another family, my mom's older sister, so my aunt. Her and her family are in U.S., Pennsylvania, I believe. That's what the state is called.
Beautiful state.
Yeah.
Beautiful area. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's a lot of farms in Ukraine, is there not? That's in Eastern Europe, right next to Russia.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. There's a lot of green. That's a lot of trees, a lot of farms, and I'm so used to seeing chickens, cows, sheep.
Now with the war going on, are those farms still operational, or?
Oh yeah. In the beginning, like when the war started, it really started in 2014, but like when it got big in 2022, actually when my family left Ukraine, it did shook up everything a little bit. But right now, people are just living as if it is what it is. If something happens tomorrow and I'm not here, it's whatever. People are just just kind of used to it by now. So everything is almost back to normal, but it's not back to normal. Like there's a lot of darkness and people and depression and stuff. But but Ukraine was never the same since.
So how long has the war been going on between Ukraine and Russia?
Well, it's been 4 years. This February,
there was some stuff in 2014 when Russia took over a certain area, I guess.
Yeah, I believe it was Donetsk.
The Crimea.
Crimea, yeah. There was to do with Crimea. It's ever since like USSR and everything. Well, even before that, like Russia always thought it was always part of Russia, but it really wasn't, because basically part of Ukraine. And so I believe personally, I don't know too much. I'm not a big historical nerd. I did like history a little bit in school, but from what I know is way back, like when there was I don't know if you know, they were called Kozaki. It's like with the big things and the big beards and stuff. And there was a lot of wars going on. Like there was to do with crime a lot. And so ever since 1996, where Ukraine split up from USSR, how we've said we were independent. Russia of course didn't like it, because Ukrainian land has a lot of soil that is very, very rich, and it was very good for whatever corn, sunflowers, like everything. And so ever since then, that's kind of where it's been. And in 2014, I'm not sure exactly how it all happened, but there was a lot of disagreements and everything that was happening. That's kind of where it all sparked up, and it's been going on ever since then. I remember being in school and us like writing letters and like support and everything to the fighters there and to the soldiers, and it never really stopped ever since 2014. The news did stop talking about it as much, but that doesn't mean it ended necessarily. And same as right now with what's going on there, the news and the media and everything, it's not as loud about it at the moment, but it is how it was 2 years ago and 3 years ago.
Just little skirmishes here and there, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. There's some good news here and there's some bad news. So it's kind of been going on, but it's
back and forth.
Back and forth. But I personally, just if I'm being completely honest, I don't keep up with it anymore. I used to, but I just thought, John, it's just not worth it, and I don't get peace from it.
That's for sure.
and I
That's
don't
for
want to
sure.
do the things and listen to things that don't bring me peace.
That's true.
Because
That's true.
I like being in peace. I don't know about you guys.
All right. So you left Ukraine when?
It was 4th March 2022 when me and my family we left our town, and we did live quite far from the border. And so I'll run a little bit about our story. The plan was to stay in Ukraine, but be more towards the west side, so be more towards like the Poland and everything, but stay in Ukraine, right?
Mm-hmm.
We had some relatives there and everything. But so, and yeah, we had a Volkswagen T4 was a van. It was a very, very old van, but it was very reliable. And so anyways, me and my family, and then we had another SUV that was very similar to Toyota 4Runner, but it wasn't really, it was just some kind of replica. But anyway, so my mom drove in there, and me, my dad, and a couple of my siblings drove in the Volkswagen T4, which was like this big van. And so we left on the 4th March. We had quite a bit of vehicles and property and stuff, and we gave a lot of stuff away to our friends and to just people we know, because we didn't want to just leave it just because. So we just left everything behind, and maybe for us kids, it wasn't that hard and complicated because, well, friends, yeah, we knew a couple of friends and stuff, and a school, in the community. But I believe it was the hardest for my dad because if you can imagine, like we owned our house, like I don't know, since I was 2, so that was like 14 years and stuff. And there was a lot of equipment that he had and land and the house, and then there was a barn. But so I believe it was the hardest decision for my dad, but it really wasn't because it was his kid's future or that. So it was, but it wasn't. But so anyway, so we left on 4th March, and it actually took us 5 days to go from my town, Poltava, to go to Warszawa in Poland. That's kind of where we first moved. And there was a lot of driving going on. And my mom, my youngest brother, his name is Makar, he was 7 months old also, so she was still breastfeeding him and everything while driving. And it was heck of a journey. It was some sleepless nights and stuff, and we all didn't know exactly where we were going, but God just made us through, and He brought us through a lot. And so, but anyway, so on our how we came to the decision on not staying in Ukraine is on our way to a different part of Ukraine that wasn't as much in a war. My dad got a call from his cousins who live in Germany, and so they said they have people and relatives who can help us out in Poland, who can get us, a house to stay in and everything, help us out with language. And so my mom and dad were like, okay, and of course they prayed about it, I'm guessing, and felt led. So we went to Poland, and I went to school there. Picked up Polish language very quickly because it's very similar to Ukrainian.
Mm-hmm. How many languages do you speak?
I speak 4 languages.
So Ukrainian, Polish, English,
Russian.
and Russian.
Yeah, I'm fluent in Russian, Ukrainian, and in English. And so yeah, we went to school there and everything. Started making friends, and I actually started thinking that we'll stay in Poland, but visit Ukraine every now and then. But that wasn't God's plan, I'm guessing. So after 2 months, I believe, of being there, we were just going through some paperwork and stuff, and then my parents get a call from our friends in UK, people we knew from Ukraine. We went to church with them sometimes, and they're saying that like there's programs going on and stuff where they can help us out, just get to UK just free as a refuge and everything, get a house to stay in. And my mom and dad were like, yeah, okay. And it was a little hard on me and everybody because we just moved once. And here after 3 months, we're packing up again. So anyways, we got our visas from Poland to UK. It took us 2 months, I believe. We got our whatever paperwork needed and everything. And so we left and we flew from Poland to UK. And that was a lot of fun. I was never on a plane ever in my life. That was the first time I flew. I was 14 years old. And it was a lot of fun because, as you can imagine, 10 people in my family. It's me and 7 kids after me and mom and dad. But anyways, when we moved to UK, we were very blessed with. It was basically like a sponsor program. Basically, like the house we lived in was paying for was our whatever landlords and everything, and then they helped us out with food a lot, and just with things like this, and just God just was blessing us greatly. and it's just, we basically stayed in UK rent free. I'm gonna get to it for 2 years, and we stayed in a really good house also. But so that was a big blessing. So we stayed in UK for exactly 2 years and 10 days. I went to school there also. I actually graduated high school there, and it was okay. We didn't enjoy it as much as Poland, simply because, well, my dad's biggest concern was that the road was on the wrong side, the steering wheel was on the right side, and he hated that a lot. UK is a great country. There's nothing I have against them. Again, right now, politically wise, they're not in the best shape, I find, and I know a lot of British people who are saying that like UK is on its fall and everything, but it was a great country. People there loved us, but you could tell by the way people were and everything when you were talking to them. They like didn't want and expect you to stay there, right? So there wasn't much future there. Like it was almost like just a pit stop. So that's what we felt. But we were all okay with staying there. We were learning English. We got pretty good, and I was graduating high school. I think I'm going to college and everything. And my dad had a pretty good job. My mom stayed at home and everything. But somehow, me and my parents, like we had a feeling that there's somewhere else where God was calling us, and we had no idea where. But my dad always knew and always wanted to live somewhere like US and Canada. My dad was a forest master almost in Ukraine. He was cutting down trees, making stuff out of wood. And actually, back in Ukraine, I really miss those times where we would just basically had a machinery where like you put a log on it and it cuts it in a bunch of pieces. And then we'll make stuff out of it, like chairs, tables, like bathrooms for outdoors, like rocking chairs and whatever. And so that's what he did. So he's very much into woodwork and everything. So he always wanted to live and try how it is in Canada and US and North America, anyways. And so, anyways, there was programs and everything going on where it wasn't as easy of a path going from UK to Canada as it was from Poland to UK, simply because the war wasn't as active now, and we might have not received as much favor as we did back when everything was just starting out. And anyways, mom and dad we applied for visa and everything, and in March 2024, we my mom and my brother. They went from UK to Toronto for a little bit to get the work permit, on Medicare, and get everything sorted and get medical exams. And then they came back to UK. And then me and my dad, we also left and we went to Toronto to do all of my paperwork, because anybody over, I believe, 16, had to go and do it. Couldn't just leave UK and come. So then we came back. And that was in March 2024. And then on July 1st, 2024, we flew from UK to Canada.
As a family?
Yes, as a family all together. We flew, our plane was delayed, unfortunately. So when we came to Halifax, we flew from London to Halifax. We flew to Halifax. Our bus was gone. We paid like, I don't know, $600 for the tickets and everything. And it was gone, unfortunately, and we couldn't get our money back. So we had a decision to make. We could have stayed. Well, we still had the tickets, so we could have went on a bus next day, but we had to stay like in a hotel or something. But my mom and dad decided there was already people waiting for us here. There's still some people like from the church. My mom and dad were contacting and everything, and so we decided to get a cab and go to Moncton straight away. But also another interesting story on how we made a decision to go to Moncton. My mom and dad had no idea where to go. We had no relatives, no friends, nobody. So what my mom and dad did is they reached out to a bunch of churches in Maritimes, Canada. And out of, I don't know, 80 or 100 churches, one got back, and that was Moncton Victory Church, which we're part of right now. And it's a blessing. It's a very much family.
So here you are today. You're part of the Victory Church in Moncton, New Brunswick, on Canada's eastern seaboard. Yep. And in front of you there, you have a Bible. You've mentioned the Lord a few times. You were born and raised in a Christian family? Yes,
I was born and raised in a Christian household. My mom and dad were going to church most of their lives. And when they got married and everything, and when I was born, I actually have a picture of like me being a newborn and mom and dad just being in front of the pastor in the whole church praying for us. And then that was amazing. I went to Christian camps, went to Christian just youth groups and stuff, and Sunday schools and everything. But the Lord was never, Jesus was never my Lord until last 2 or 3 years, I would say. And like I went to church, because my parents went, and it was very rarely where I would actually want to go there. And again, it's to do with age. There's a certain age where you're unsure. You just follow your parents and stuff. But
so it seems like by what you're saying, you feel that a relationship with Jesus Christ is a very, very personal thing.
Oh, it is. It definitely is. Nobody can talk you into it, no matter how much anybody tries and everything. He's very personal. Mm-hmm. How he speaks to you, John, is maybe not how he speaks to me, and how you got to know him is not how I got to know him. So Jesus is a very, very, very personal. And, it even says in the Bible how he's jealous for us, right? Mm-hmm. And he wants us, one-on-one personally, and that's why I hate religion so much. Mm-hmm. I'm not a big fan of religion, and even sometimes whenever people ask if I'm a Christian, I don't rush to answer, simply because a lot of people have different associations when it comes to Christianity, right? A lot of people have went to church, and then, for example, I don't know, something bad happened to them, and so now they associate Christianity with that. So what I like to do whenever I evangelize to people, or whenever I tell people about Jesus, is I don't rush with saying I'm a Christian, right? I am a Christian because I follow Christ, but mm-hmm. I'm a Christian not because it's a religion, because I want to be associated, but it's because I follow Jesus. That's why I'm a Christian, right? Mm-hmm. But Jesus is very, very personal, and it's only last, I would say, 2 years. I'd say maybe even 2.5, mm-hmm. where I actually experienced him personally.
Quote a scripture to me in Ukrainian.
John 3:16. Бо так Бог полюбив цей світ, що він дав свого єдиного сина за нас, щоб ніхто не помер, але мав вічне життя. Mm-hmm. That's John 3:16.
Can you quote a scripture in Russian?
Not so much. I can. John 3:16. Ибо так возлюбил Бог этот мир, что Он дал своего единственного Сына за нас всех, чтобы никто не умер, но имел вечную жизнь в Иисусе Христе.
It seems like salvation is universal the world over, no matter what religion, no matter what language.
It is. There's no limitations for God. That's what I was just telling about your friend over there who's helping you with the podcast. Like, there's no limitations for God. God could use paralyzed people. God could use people who were, deaf, blind, whatever, mm-hmm. and anything. There's no such thing that's like, God is like, oh no, that's too much for me. Yes. There's no such thing as too far gone either. I met a lot of people who think, I'm not good enough, but that's the whole point of us not being good enough, and him being everything to us, and yes. him, it's all for his glory and everything. And it was just what we're doing right now is a podcast and everything, and I don't want any of the fame or glory to myself, and mm-hmm. everything I just said is all about him. And mm-hmm. I'll get to more of where I am at life right now, but just everything I just said about him delivering my family and everything, and him being my savior, it's nothing that I did on my own. It's all for his glory and all his grace. Mm-hmm. There's nothing. It's just when I look back and everything, I just realize how gracious he is to me and my family, and I just mm-hmm. realized how his plans are way greater than our plans. Mm-hmm. When we were in Poland, my plan was to start life in Poland, be everything in Poland. Then he moved with me to UK. Mm-hmm. Now in UK, I was like, okay, I'm starting building stuff here and everything.
You mentioned Poland. What's Poland like?
Poland is amazing. I very much enjoyed Poland, and I miss a lot of things about it. It's as we all know, Poland is actually one of the only almost countries that actually is against Islam religion. Mm-hmm. And Poland is a great country. There's great people. Don't get me wrong. There is a lot of cultural things also, which are not as good a little bit. But again, it's history-wise, it's amazing. It's just the last whatever, I don't know, 50 years has been just revolutionary for them. And it's a great country. It's very, very clean, and there's very little crime going on. And when it comes to terrorist attacks too, and I believe them being against Islam is part of the reason, but that's a different topic to talk about.
They don't seem to have, like a lot of nations seem to have bought into this globalist thing. Poland doesn't seem to have bought into it.
No, and I believe that's why they're so successful. They're one of the richest countries right now in Europe, and and they're very strong on religion. Well, I believe it's a Catholic country in itself, and they stand by their traditions, and the schools there also. It's important to say that God is real and everything, and which is beautiful. But Poland was very similar to Ukraine in a lot of things, but it was also a lot ahead when it came to just development and everything. And yeah, they're great people.
They seem to be putting a lot of money lately into their military and everything.
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah, Poland was a great country, and it's great people, and at times I did feel like I wasn't included, but again, when you come to a different country, that's always the way you might feel, and there was nothing wrong with that. But no, Poland was a great country, and I loved it.
David, thanks so much for talking with us today. In closing, to anybody, there's a lot of people out there in the world that are hurting today. A lot of people feel sort of disenchanted by what's going on in the world and in society today. What would you say to encourage those people?
I would say no feeling lasts forever. I'd say nothing that we're experiencing right now will last forever. This is only for a few moments, And the question I'm going to ask everybody who's watching and everything is like, what's after? Because right now, I don't know what lifespan is right now, 70, 80 years if you're lucky. Some are not even as fortunate to live past 20, 30, I know a lot of teenagers my age who just passed away due to drugs or alcohol or whatever, being in the streets. So the question is, what's after? Right? Just, it doesn't matter how much you tell somebody about God, unless they actually want it. And it says, nobody comes to the Father unless He draws them. And also it says, nobody comes to the Father unless through me, which are Jesus' words. So I would say with everything going on in the world right now, greatest encouragement I would say is the Word of God, and it's just God. He's our comforter, He's our healer. Our God, the God we believe in, Jesus Christ, He's the God of joy. He's not a God of suffering. Now, suffering will come whether we like it or not, whether we follow Jesus or not. It's part of life. There's nothing wrong with suffering, but our reaction to it and our response to it is what makes a difference. So if in suffering and in the hard times, if we look unto Jesus, we'll have a whole different story. Right? If my family, if my mom and dad made a decision, they're like, no, whatever, we're comfortable in Poland, we're going to stay there. Where I am right now, would not have happened. I wouldn't have been at the podcast right now. So we'll look into Jesus. He's our greatest comforter, and talk to Him. Like I said before, He's a very personal God, and so He hears His children. And so just put your faith and trust in Lord, and that's all we can do, and that's all He's asking us, is to look unto Him and to ask, and He will give.
David, once again, thank you so much. That's it for another episode of Road of Life Podcast with John Miller. If any of the people watching and listening today would like to appear on the Road of Life podcast, or any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to reach out at roadoflifepodcast@outlook.com. That's roadoflifepodcast@outlook.com. And once again, Mr. David, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.